How's it going, everybody? This is Garden Groove Podcast episode 12,
That's
I
right.
am told. And we are here with Connor Gehlert.
You guys have a podcast?
What?
Apparently so.
No way.
Good for you.
I'm learning this
Right now?
recently. Recently, yes.
Most of the world doesn't know.
We're here to fix that today.
Yeah. Today.
Today.
That's
This
right.
is the one, guys.
Today is this is the viral one. So
Don't put that pressure on me.
No pressure.
I'm
but,
pretty. I'm not that
we
pretty.
need some clips. Get those clips ready.
That's right.
So Connor is a guitar player, producer, Berklee graduate,
Yes, sir.
extraordinaire. And we're gonna go over some songs. And how are you doing? What's
I am
up?
doing. How are you guys doing?
Doing well.
I'm doing
Lovely.
well. Doing great.
Feeling good.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I don't really know how this works. What do you like? Do you guys have a
You
way
know-
you typically introduce stuff? I have session.
Yeah. I guess
I-
first maybe
yeah.
like just give us a little brief history, how you ended up in Nashville.
I was born at a young age.
Yeah.
Zero.
That joke never goes as well as I think it should. No, I came to Nashville a while back, in the day of old 2016.
Wow.
Feels like a million years ago now.
Okay.
We just kind of, a bunch of us Boston folk all kind of schlepped here together. Literally shared a U-Haul with my best friends, and we all
cool.
kind of bungled down here together. 16 hours some drive. It was great. I think we stopped in Cincinnati on the way, so we split it up.
Split it.
Hit the IKEA, on the way.
Gotta do it. Oh, dude. Gotta do it.
Gotta do it. And so when we first got to town, I feel like a lot of my friends produce and still do, but like they all kind of just went in and like I don't know how else to say this, but like claimed the rest of our friends that were artists. They all kind of like, you want to make a thing? You want to make a thing? Sure, I want to make a thing too. Let's make a thing. And
Yeah.
then I was just kind of here like, guess I'll play guitar.
That'll do.
Oh, everybody's making things.
Yeah, I guess I like did the touring thing for a little while. Honestly, I'd still be doing that. COVID kind of squashed that. Obviously,
Yeah.
I'm sure that's been the story on every single person's that you've spoken to bit on this podcast.
Yeah.
But and then I think a year or two into living here, I had a friend that was like, I really want to make another record, but I know I'll never do it on my own. I was like, well, I'll make it with you, and I've been wanting to do that for a while again, and then we did it, and then ever since then, I've been slowly but surely and steadily getting other gigs.
Nice.
And usually I kind of happen upon them, which
Yeah.
knock on the wood. I keep getting recommended or found, or it comes up in conversation, and it's very much the Nashville experience
Yeah.
of word of mouth. How close to this mic am I supposed to be? Is this
The closer the better,
okay?
but
Cool.
you're fine.
I know an SM7 when I
There's
when
people
we
that
see
come
it,
in
but
and just like,
yeah,
Yeah,
chilling. Okay,
guys,
cool. I'm gonna keep
Still
it
be
casual.
out here,
All right, sweet.
Off in space.
But so yeah, I've been kind of producing ever since, still playing, and then production is what kind of got me through pandemic times.
Cool.
Was that and the government. The government got me through the rest. But no, but the only thing I was working on was production in my little apartment that we moved to until we moved to the place we're at now. And it's been pretty steady ever since. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say about that. I've
That's
been
great.
doing the thing for a little while.
That's awesome.
Is all that I've really
Yeah.
So, go ahead.
Well, so who are some bands that you're producing for right now?
Well, I just finished. This is actually one of the sessions that I brought. I just wrapped up a record late last year, and it came out about a month ago with Ellisa Sun,
Yes,
R&B artist that I'd been playing with for a while. We worked on the record for like better part of 2-3 years.
Right.
The first basic session was November of 2021. So by the time it came out, yeah, it was been like 2.5-3 years. And that's been kind of like the main thing I'd been doing for a while. I just picked up, and then that's the longest project I've had going on since I got to town. That was like kind of like an album, 9 songs. I had not done an album in a long time, if at all.
Right.
And then everything else has been little EPs. Some pop artist named Flint. She's a songwriter, but every once in a while she puts out artist stuff. I brought one of her sessions as well. And then I've, you slowly but surely get to work with some people all over the world. I have a client that hits me with stuff out of London every once in a while.
Cool. It's really good music is.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Her stuff is cool, man.
Yeah.
And then a little singles. Ashani is another R&B artist that a lot of R&B, a lot of live band stuff. A lot of that's kind of where I tend to specialize, is telling people who are better than me at drums and bass and piano what to do, as opposed to me pretending to know what to do exactly. And that just depends on the genre, really, because sometimes that's what you want it to sound like, a guy who cannot play the drums
telling you how to play the drum.
Yeah.
Sure.
But yeah, that's a lot of it's just depends. Like my favorite genre, I hate working alone. So me banging my head against a MIDI keyboard for 8 hours a day is my least favorite way to work, but I can and will do it.
Right.
But and the contrast to that, my favorite way to work is in a studio, in a live situation, and not even in a live situation, just with other humans contributing ideas.
I like that.
I'm so sick of my own ideas. Most of the time, I'm so bored with the stuff that goes on in my head. I need new stuff coming in.
Yeah, that totally makes sense
Yeah.
to me. So, are you doing a lot of the tracking for the projects that you work on? Would you say it's mostly done in studios, or are you working out of your house a lot? Or
Healthy
kind of both?
combination.
Healthy
A healthy combination. It depends on the budget.
Yeah.
A lot of I feel like the term producer is so vague.
Yeah.
Like
It is
my
now,
family
for
has
sure.
no friggin' idea what I do.
Right.
Yeah.
And neither does yours. They don't know what I do. My little brother has asked me like 4 separate times over the course of me doing this as my living.
Yeah.
So what's a producer again? What do you do exactly?
Are you the DJ that's playing in front of all the lights?
If only, dude. That sounds way easier. no shade
Might be
to
in
any
some
DJs.
ways. Yeah.
Or less complicated. It sounds slightly less complicated.
Sure.
No, but so a lot of, and it's so vague because it can be attributed to so many different things. But
Okay.
I'm really going somewhere with this, and I'm going to remember what it was. Where did we come off of? So the out of my house thing.
Yeah.
A lot of that depends on budget, and I kind of send a budget proposal ahead of time, just kind of give, and with some options sometimes if the artist isn't sure.
Yeah.
Or what usually I do is we wind up going like, okay, with exactly what you want, here's the most you're gonna spend.
Yeah.
It'll probably be less than that, and so
Yeah.
we're gonna be pleasantly surprised when it is.
Yeah.
And so when they take a look at that big giant number and go,
Yeah.
that's when I'm like, okay, so what we can do realistically within your budget is we can take it to my place and record like bass and drums and then start putting everything else on top of it instead of everything all at once.
Right.
And a lot of that just comes with literally how much money you have to spend on the project. But that also kind of like depends on how much time and where they want to put the work in. All of my clients gets this spiel that my teacher gave me when I was in college, which is you have time, you have money, and you have quality. You get 2, it costs the 3rd. And so if you want it done quickly and well, it's going to be a lot of money.
Yeah.
If you want it done cheaply and well, it's going to take a ton of time. And if you want it done cheaply and quickly, it's going to be bad.
Yeah.
Wow. It's pretty true.
Yeah, and I've found that the most consistent truth among all of this music making process is that trifecta of time, quality, and money. And
Yeah. You've talked about something like that, right?
Yeah, there's that, I think, same phrase, but I've probably used a different
A different
said
trifecta.
Yeah, well, it was if you want something done, cheap and fast, it ain't gonna be good.
Yep.
If you want it cheap and good, it ain't gonna be fast.
there it is.
If you want it, and then what's the last combination?
Good and quick.
Good and quick. Yeah,
it's
and
good.
it ain't gonna be cheap.
There it
Yeah.
is, yeah.
I don't know
It's
how
all
you
the
keep
same.
that in your head. Well, so you play guitar with me,
Yes.
with my silly little project.
Well, it's not silly. It's very fun.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It is very fun. But yeah, everything goes so slow because I'm doing it cheap, because I'm doing it on my own.
Well, you're doing it all yourself. Exactly.
and I'm doing it all myself.
Yeah.
And it's taken like a lifetime.
Right.
Yeah,
And the
it
more
makes
humans
sense.
you get involved, the faster it's going to go because you're delegating and each
right.
person is taking care of what they are good at.
Right.
I am a decent engineer. Only because I do not like to engineer.
Yeah.
So we go to a studio and I have somebody way more interested in it than me take care of that aspect. I know enough to like talk to them intelligently about what I want and what I think the artist wants, more importantly. And then we kind of all come to a conclusion together and they make it happen.
Nice.
And I prefer to work that way, but of course, that doesn't always work out. So a lot of the time, what we're doing is basics at a studio, and then all the overdubs at my house.
Yeah.
At my home studio. And then every once in a while, I'll get a bassist and a drummer, and usually together if I can help it.
Yeah.
To do that at my home studio as well. I have just enough inputs to make that go good.
Yeah.
You gotten all sorts of stuff down there, like keys and
I've got a lovely
vocals.
little piano that I've got recently.
violins down there.
Yeah,
Did you
I've
get
my
some
buddy.
strings down there too?
I've had my buddy Alex Stradal do some cello layers there.
Yeah.
It's a
You've
big
got
enough
all sorts of
space.
stuff.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
I can pretty much record whatever I need.
Yeah.
Except for a grand piano, just because I
Yeah.
don't own one. You know,
Right.
even if I did, that would be the only thing that fits in that room.
Yes.
Take
Take up that entire room.
So, usually we go to a studio if we want to get everything done at once. We want really just specifically good or specifically colored drum sounds or a grand piano.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I do kind of like preface with like, hey, if you want to get everything done at once and have basically walk out with most of a record, let's go to a studio. If you're down to kind of take some time and build, we can just do everything at my place, and it will technically be several grand cheaper.
Right.
And that's not always the case, but it is often the case,
Yeah.
And it's worked out because my better half, my fiance, does crowdfunding consulting.
Oh.
So not often, but several times we have kind of, the artist is like, I have no idea how I'm going to pay for all this. And I'm like, well, boy, do I just have the thing for you.
Yeah, you
My
guys-
future wife is going to help you.
Yeah. She's gonna
and
help you crowdfund.
Crowdfund, exactly.
Yeah.
And
That's so
it's
cool.
worked out well the handful of times. And I've only, benefited from that like twice, maybe three times. And then she's been, that got around quick because that's a need that every artist
Sure. Yeah.
has. Is that you shouldn't have to spend your own money on your art and the thing you want to turn into your job. That's what labels were always for, but that's a whole different conversation.
Yeah.
So it really just everything. That was a long way to say both.
It's good though. The crowdfunding thing I think is so cool
Yeah.
though. Like,
Yeah.
I've seen artists do it successfully and
Yeah.
pay for
Yeah,
big projects.
Yeah. And it's always more, but also less than you think.
Right.
Because I feel like I've some crowdfunding things that I've contributed to. A crazy video game that wants you to be a goat.
Yeah.
Shout out to Goat Simulator. Yep.
Oh,
Goats, you know what I'm talking
what
about?
a throwback.
Yeah. So
Yeah, that
I
my
was one of those
college
guys.
game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Wow.
So when Kickstarter was first thing, and so that was like whatever $500,000, and then so
Yeah.
in retrospect, it's easier to get 10 or 15.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then that does cover most of an independent record, if not
Right.
the whole thing.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
But I think it's totally. There's not a lot of people that are looking at that world because maybe they feel a sense of guilt asking for that kind of money
Oh, it
from
sucks
people.
to ask for money.
It's
Yeah.
got to be
Yeah.
a little weird. But I mean, all my friends know that I'm now obsessing over Jack Conte,
Yeah,
the founder of Patreon.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a genius idea, and that was his whole idea
Mm-hmm.
behind Patreon. Is like, musicians aren't making enough money.
Yep.
Obviously.
Yeah.
What do we do about that? And he's like, oh yeah, crowdfunding. There's no place where people can
Mm-hmm.
crowdfund and make a whole album in vinyl
Yeah.
under it.
Yeah.
And I feel like people forget that you're not just asking for money and then washing your hands of it.
Yeah.
You're providing a service, not just in the art that you make, but you get incentives. We've all done Kickstarter before.
Yeah.
Like you get the keychain bundle or the
Right.
book deal or the whatever.
Yeah.
Like there's little merch associated with it. There's the
Yeah.
T-shirts. Like they are purchasing something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Benny Greb is known for
Yes.
killing it with it. He was funding an album or maybe a DVD that he was making.
Mm-hmm.
This high budget Hollywood studio multi-camera
Yeah.
Wow.
whatever DVD that it came out with, which became legendary in the drumming world.
Hmm.
But he crowdfunded everything, and part of the reason why the crowdfunding was so efficient is because he sold off his drum kit, he sold off his cymbals,
Shoot,
everything
man.
was signed, obviously.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And
That'll do it.
It's like there was a bunch of tiers to the system. If it was like if you get the highest tier, whatever, you get the drum kit.
Yeah.
What
I get the whole thing.
$10,000 or something? But
Yeah.
it's genius.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's genius.
Yeah, and it works. And by that same note, I feel like people, and this is why I have this discussion first with all my clients as well, is people really don't know how much a record is supposed to cost.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, 10, 15 grand is kind of cheap.
Yeah.
Like that's lowballing it at an EP. That's a
Yeah.
comfortable amount of money for an EP.
Are you talking just recording, or are you also talking
whole thing.
vinyl,
the whole thing.
players,
Marketing.
mastering.
Right.
Like I'm talking about the entire record. That's
Right.
not even like my fee is in there as a percentage.
Right.
Not even a percentage, but like
Yeah.
a chunk. And then players, studio, mixing, mastering, marketing, merch, fulfillment, like advertisements, which is part of marketing. Like it's all of it. That's like
post marketing
yes,
too, which
right,
a lot of
which-
people
whew.
forget about. It's out.
I know nothing. Yeah,
and then
exactly.
they ghost it. Like
Yeah.
no, it's
No,
still
no,
out.
that's when you
it
gotta
never
go.
s-
To
yeah,
start the
You gotta
market.
keep
it
going.
never
Really.
stops being out.
So
Like,
like 10,
keep
15
going.
grand for all of that for a full length record is kind of insanely small.
Yeah.
That goes so fast. Plus that some of that money that you're crowdfunding with, and I'm talking out of my butt here because I'm not the architect, but like having been helped those work out, it's been interesting to watch, and just the fact that people, artists included, but also just like our friends and family, have no idea how much music costs.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel it always comes back to that because we're all trying to make a living doing this.
Yeah.
Anywho,
music industry.
Well, yeah, I think that's definitely a super overlooked thing, and people don't realize how, like, people are pretty generous, and
they want art.
yeah, and
People want
you'd
art.
be
Yeah.
surprised like who will donate and how much
Yeah.
people will donate to
Yeah.
something. If it's just somebody in your life, or even like my band did it for.
Okay, cool. So typically what I receive, unless I'm part of the songwriting process, which has not happened much, but it has happened a couple times. Okay, get your headphone up. I'm getting chords and a melody. Is typically what I'm presented with. Sometimes somebody's rehearsed a band enough times that you have some semblance of an arrangement.
Right.
But often what I'm getting is gonna be literally just guitar and vocals, which this is Ellisa Sun. This is off the record that she put out back in February called Sarabi, named after her cat. This track is called Somewhere Below. Let me find just Elisa's guitar. Why is everything solo safe? What happened?
Weird.
It doesn't matter. Oh, because these were buses. I know what I did. I know things. Okay.
I know
so,
things.
I know things. Let me find her lead vocals as well. That's the effects. That's going to be unnecessary. And these are not mixed stems. These are just my stems that I sent off to the mix engineer.
Cool.
So I'm often getting something that's just literally...
I was spring cleaning.
And these were
This
recorded with the band, and the
morning.
band comes in later. But this is what I get at the beginning. Is just chords, guitar, piano, sometimes both, sometimes neither. Sometimes I just get vocals, and then I get to do anything I want, which is terrifying.
Fun.
Um,
I mean, terrifying.
both. It's both. And so we start here, and then as you can hear, as I unsolo everything, band trickles in, and so my part in this is really arrangement heavy.
Yep.
I don't know. So with this particular song, I wanted it to feel like, because she starts it so slowly and low and kind of intimately. The reason I brought this one to you guys is because this is the only one that I was like, Ellisa, I have a vision.
Great.
I have an idea, and I think we should do it. And she was like, yeah, man, whatever.
You were wearing a Camino.
Yeah.
Kimono.
Kimono.
Camino.
I was wearing a kimono and
The
being
wind
very
was
dramatic.
blowing.
No. But so it feels, she starts this so intimately and then ends up huge at the end. And there's the chorus is just somewhere below over and over again. So when she played it for me for the first time, I felt like the best way to receive it was as though she was sitting alone in her apartment, playing it by herself, and kind of conjures this band around her, kind of in her mind, and then you bring it back to her at the end, just
So
sitting alone in her apartment. Kind of, it's the most cinematic I've maybe ever been with anything in my head as far as this goes. And so I kind of made it such. And so to kind of run that home, I went outside with my field recorder, recorded some birds.
Nice.
I didn't do that for this specifically, but I was like, I think I have some birds. And so I found a window closing, a truck going by, and some rain. And so at the beginning of this song, you're going to hear she closes the window to her apartment and starts playing the song.
I love it.
So there's the rain. Birds don't come into play. A little filter over the noise so you can, the window shutting makes it clear that that's the outside. There's the car going by. If I did it right, it's supposed to go from the right to the left. And so she's just chilling, doing her thing. Bass comes in. That was more out of this, like I wanted low end rather than
this morning.
yeah.
Found an old hard drive.
So I'm slow at this point. I'm kind of slowly fading out the effects.
The ones
Here,
from that
everything's
trip
printed, so I can't show you any automation.
that we took.
So eventually we get to here. I'm gonna just fast forward to the chorus because it really comes home.
Where does the love go? The love go. It don't follow.
So by now all of the background noise is gone, and the band is the focus because she's in her head now, and that's what's in her head with her is the band. And so a lot of this was about restraint and subtlety, kind of creeping in as she starts to feel her emotions more and more. She also goes up an octave in the second verse, which is coming up in a second.
Somewhere below.
So we get these hits.
Do you remember that time?
Cross stick on the snare, kind of open that up. And I'm kind of constantly trying to. The arrangement is my favorite part of production.
God, you're so good at arrangement, though.
Thanks, man.
Your guitar arrangements are always wild.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So like it's just kind of adding the ebb and flow, and this song ebbs and flows more than most songs I've worked on.
Good.
I actually have a question about arrangement, because this is something that I personally am always going back and forth with, and that is layering things in a way that serves the song versus keeping in mind that it's going to be played live and that it needs to be recreated. Where do you find yourself drawing that line where you go, if it serves the song, we're just going to put it in there, we'll figure out the live thing later?
Yeah.
And where are you like, you know what, this can't get pulled off live and it's going to ruin the song if they can't pull it off live?
I have struggled to get, so I'll tell you where I come from on that, and then the pushback for it.
Okay.
They are two separate things, and they should be. That is never a thing that I've thought to consider. Not thought to. I've of course considered it.
Right.
But that has stopped me from doing stuff.
Right.
Because the recorded experience, we're not going to have a truck going by with
Yeah.
a window closing in an
Wild.
apartment. Crazy. Well, you will. You just might not be able to hear it that
I know
day.
it'd be a wild production.
It'd be
is
a
what I mean.
wild time. Yeah. So like the live thing, and there are certain. Here's how I've kind of consolidated, and I'll have pushback. So, geez, let me get all my
It's all good.
my thoughts straight. So it's not something that I tend to consider up front until the question is asked. And I have had pushback from artists who are like, no, I want it to sound like it's, no, that's not usually the pushback I get these days. The pushback is, how are we going to do it live?
Yeah.
And I have had to be like, you're not.
Yeah.
That's the point. You're going to find a different way to do it live. And often in situations like this, I'm in the band.
Yeah.
So I'm going to help you figure it out. Like a live arrangement and recorded arrangement are two different things. Michael Jackson didn't have a string orchestra
Right.
on tour, but Quincy Jones wrote those parts.
Right.
So like, what are we going to do that every time? We're going to have to worry about that at every juncture. That being said, it really stems to what is, and this is something I hammer home all the time, whatever is appropriate for the genre. A punk song, like old school Ramones punk, needs to sound like it was recorded at CBGB's.
Yeah.
And needs to sound like crap in a good way.
Yeah.
So you won't layer that. That arrangement is different.
Right.
This kind of R&B, the like Leanne La Havas kind of vibe, where like it's kind of dipping into jazz here and there, but it's still very like this is a production. This is very like there's going to be layers. You want to make sure that it's still appropriate for the genre, and that's kind of most of my decision-making process when it comes to arrangement comes down to that, and then how large the moment needs to be or how dramatically different the moment needs to be. So if I was producing a jazz record, this wouldn't be a problem. I would just make sure we got the take. That take would be comped. I would not add a thing to it.
Yeah.
Right? Whereas this kind of stuff, like we're following her, and if she's conjuring this all in her imagination, which is, again, me pitching this to Ellisa, not the other way around. This was like, please, this will be so cool, I promise. And it turned out she liked it. The arrangement is really just kind of like, how many layers do we need to be there to get this feeling out? Right. Rather than like, oh, how are we going to recreate this live? I got a Mellotron in here, man. Who's got a Mellotron live? You know, like it's really just, and a lot of things, and this is the other thing that this is one of the things I talk to producers the most about, because I feel like people have a lot of different thoughts about this. There's a lot of things in here that are felt but not heard.
Yeah,
and that just make it feel larger or feel not as large or something. Let me find. Usually it's percussion, if I'm being honest. And not gonna lie, for as much as I've talked about, this is kind of a bare bones version of it. But like all of this percussion, you cannot hear, including the parallel drums. I forgot that everything is so safe right now for some reason. So let me just get rid of that. What else we got? Get Rye out of there. I think that should be good. Except the keys and the guitar verb. You good, man? You need a drink?
All right.
So over here, we've literally just got a shaker and then a tambourine that comes in on 2 and 4. Or actually just 4 for right now. And then when you turn it off, you can hear it because I showed it to you. You know? But like, that's just because we needed something moving a little forward, a little brightness on the snare. And like, there's a bunch of stuff, like there's an organ in here that's really low until this whole song builds into this organ solo. But like a lot of this stuff, like the vocals are so low and they're so present at the same time. There's like a lot of this. It's really just another long answer to your question.
It's a fantastic answer.
Yeah, I'm loving it.
It's just kind of what's appropriate for the genre.
Yeah.
It's really, and then the arrangement part of recreating it live is trust that these musicians that you hire and trust will find a way.
Yeah.
Because like, and also you listen with your eyes more than you realize in the world. So when you're looking at it live and she's singing her heart out, you feel that, and it feels louder. You can't see her right now.
Yeah.
So we have to make sure that comes across in that same way. It's literally our job.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic
so cool.
answer.
Yeah.
Well, and it's also as an extreme, like sometimes you'll see a band live and it sounds exactly like the recording, and it's subjective.
That
but like,
band might be running tracks.
Yeah, and likely these days they are.
Right.
But like sometimes that's not what you want. Like I remember we saw Green Day, and it's more about like the showmanship. No, it wasn't Green Day. Maybe it was Muse, but it sounded like exactly. They're fantastic.
Yeah.
But I think with them it was just like, oh, it just sounds like the album.
Yeah.
Like they're playing the greatest hits because that's what they're supposed to do.
Of course.
Yeah.
But it's like sometimes it's cool to see like this raw live, like it's alive.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
This like alive thing that you're seeing on the stage. Like Dave Matthews Band is a
Right. Well,
I'm not going to drop them every
Second Dave Matthews Band mention on the podcast.
people that know me are gonna be so textbook.
Colorado
too.
or something? You like jam bands?
One of my friends, we went out one night in Boulder, and then he woke up. I slept on the couch for some reason, and he slept on my bed. And then he woke up, and he's like, "What? Dave Matthews Band poster. I must be in Taylor's room." So it's very, but yeah, Dave has a very like alive. type thing to
Yeah.
like.
And like again, this kind of genre is more meant to be a little more organic than it is, 80,000 layers. And actually, this is like a lot of these are summed up, so this isn't even. There are more layers than this on the track. Did you guys want to hear anything in particular? Or I mean, we can.
Is that all the percussion parts you have?
Honestly, yeah, and that's
Yeah.
less than I remembered there being.
Sure. Yeah. It sounds great.
I tend to stack up vocals because I work with a lot of vocalists. Well, and the other thing is like the acoustic guitar on here is also percussion. Just kind of as the nature
It's a
of what
percussive-
acoustic guitar is. It's just a hi-hat but louder and pitched. So if we take if we go over here, where's the acoustic start? Right here. I'm playing the shaker part, just with chords.
Oh yeah.
Like it's really just kind of really drilling home those 16th notes that I'm sure Aaron is playing in the Aaron. Shout out to Aaron Lawson. Not that I don't talk about him enough. Great drummer. We didn't have a hi. Oh yeah, here's the hi-hat mic. Oh, except I need to solo with the drum bass. So it can let him kind of do his thing while something is consistently going.
Is he playing a drum beat on top of the suit? Wow, that's cool.
It don't follow,
Group the drums are close.
but it lingers somewhere below.
Hang on.
Where does the love
Let's just keep listening.
go? The love go.
So like that acoustic's really just kind of poking itself out every once in a while, just to let you know it's there. Same idea as the percussion.
Right.
It's like all acoustic stringing instruments are just hi-hats with pitches to me.
Yeah.
In some ways. I don't want to get on the James Brown train of everything is a drum, but he is right. Everything is a drum. I am on the train. And then we have this organ solo that's kind of where it peaks. And then eventually I have the band fade out while she keeps going. So it comes back to she's in a room by herself.
That's great.
Yeah, and a lot of this stuff, like, we could get into plugins if you want. I don't have them up here right now, but that isn't the point of this kind of song.
Yeah.
Any plugins I put on there was like a little more saturation, a little more, make things a little warmer, a little crunchier, or just to kind of move them in the stereo space. I that's half the other reason we go to the studios, so I don't really have to mix anything.
Yeah.
I also don't like mixing or mastering if I can help it.
Really?
Yeah, I outsource that first and foremost.
Yeah.
I have foregone a studio in favor of affording to mix and master outside of me. Because by the time it gets to that point, I'm no longer objective.
Yeah.
I don't know what the song needs. It just sounds like the song to me.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So yeah, everything's a drum.
Everything's a drum.
I love it.
These vocal parts are horn parts to me, which are drum parts to other things. Some of this stuff is really just kind of like tone, like the parallel compression on her voice. I can do it with and without. She could sing the phone book, by the way. Like,
Do you remember that time?
so
we
there's with the
drank coffee
verb,
on
and then here's the
stoop,
parallel compression.
singing songs with
Let's
you.
give it a little more body. Stuff like that. I don't know. What else?
I
Any
didn't-
questions about this, guys? I don't know what to talk about else.
I love it.
Yeah, it's great. I think that answered all of my questions about this
Yeah.
one.
Same.
All right. So the other session I brought is the opposite of this. All in the box. 100%.
Nice.
And it's a very pop thing.
Yeah.
I think we should be fine. We good? And this one's a little more haphazard because I couldn't find the original session, so we're just rocking stems right now.
All right. That's cool.
Again, not mixed, but I don't know if... so this is the opposite. This is in the box. I got piano and vocals to this still, but Flint, F-L-Y-N-T, my friend Claire, primarily a songwriter and like just a songwriter, but she feel like art can kind of be your resume sometimes, and that's what it needs to be. And she loved the song. The song is a banger. So she wrote this with her friend Anastasia, who's the client from London. Also did some of her
cool.
stuff.
Nice.
And yeah, she wanted to do this, and it's very like four on the floor. Again, this is not mixed because I sent these stems off to the mix engineer, but they are. It's basically the producer's mix.
Cool.
So. I did this one a couple years ago. I might change some things, but not a lot.
Sure.
Left the key on the counter and my text on red.
That's a bottle cap.
Spilled a drink, stained the carpet.
That's a jar of salsa.
It's a fantastic sound. The clicky.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it's the jar of salsa when they pops up when you open it for
Yeah,
the first time. I literally took
fantastic sound.
salsa, jam, I don't know.
Nice.
Tomato, potato. Here, we can skip the intro.
Text on red. Spilled a drink, stained the carpet, and ran from your mess. Go and do some damage, baby, be my guest. Is this really how it's gonna end? I'm over it, got nothing to show for it. But if you're mad, can't handle that you played your hand and played me back. I can be the villain if it gets you through the day. But we're not that different, you just pushed me away. Picked your position, if you can't admit it. I can be the villain. 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 Coming
So
up
that's
on
the
your
gist.
birthday.
Yeah.
the 808 or whatever that was.
Yeah, it's a bunch of stuff.
Reverby.
It's
that just came-
you know what it is? It is a sample I found on Splice of an explosion.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I found an explosion that did not have glass shattering because that's a crash symbol.
Sure.
And cut off all the high ends and reverb the crap out of it.
Nice.
And
That was cool.
yeah. So there's a lot going on here to talk about, but
Yeah.
I got keys and vocals for this. And then the fun part is she always uses this. The other artist is Anastasia Pappas, and I think she's South African, and she lives in London.
Okay.
And incredible singer. Also, Claire is a wonderful singer, but Anna always does BGVs for Claire's stuff.
Okay.
And sends you like a million things, and that could just be the record if you wanted it to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like all of the stems she sends you are just kind of like, well, this is a fully produced song now. We could just be keys and some vocals, and I'm happy.
Yeah.
So that makes my job easy every time, and she does that to her own stuff too. But so a lot of what I start with is like I just kind of chop up Claire's, because Claire is a classically trained pianist. So this is like child's play for her. These songs that are writing, like
Yeah.
she really just kind of gives me the MIDI, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna drag this everywhere. I don't have to do
Yeah.
anything. And then so it turns into, what do you want? And she was like, I want. I haven't talked about this in a while. It's bummer disco.
Bummer disco.
She called her genre bummer disco.
That's pretty accurate.
That's what I'm
So
saying.
that's
We
great.
got there.
Yeah.
And so, easy. Immediately disco, 4 on the floor kick.
Yeah.
And so I tend to, when it's in the box, start with drums, because that is the most important thing. Is people only ever hear the melody in drums. I think there's like some psychoacoustics thing about
Well,
that.
yeah, if you turn like your phone down really quiet when you're listening to a song, that's all it.
That's all you can hear.
Yeah.
And so people listen to drums first, then the melody, then the lyrics. Everything else is candy. And so I usually start with the drums, and like I always send, when we're in the box, this is all in the box, except for like the instruments that I played live, which is guitar and bass. And I think even the bass, like it's fake in some spots. I just did like the real bass is just for that like dum 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 ba-de dum 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 or something. I could have just played it again instead of miming, but here we are.
You got
So there's like a bunch of stuff in here, and so I get the drums kind of done first. I send a draft that I like to call the vibe check, just to see if I'm on the right track.
Yeah.
Since I've been literally banging my head against a MIDI keyboard to make this happen.
That'll do it. Yeah.
And so I just want to make sure I'm even on the right track before I start vibing it out more.
Yeah.
Very rarely have I been off. Every once in a while, somebody will be like, "Hey, this is sick. More," or in Claire's case, more disco.
Yeah.
I believe is what she's like. This is the perfect amount of bummer. I need to hit harder. Like
Yeah.
I'm mad. I'm like, I can do that.
Like
to make you
mad.
'cause she's mad. Like, yeah.
Sure.
And so the rest of it, yeah. I don't know. Any thoughts? I keep an SM7 hooked up to my desk like a podcast arm,
Nice.
just for shit like this, stuff like this. I don't know if we can swear on this.
It's not doubled, is it? Is there a doubler?
No, it's just pan to the left. Is there? No,
No, it's
I
just
do that on percussion a lot though.
Yeah.
I do that on percussion
It sounds
quite a
great.
bit. Yeah.
Percussion and vocals.
I usually like on my shaker put micro shift or something on there.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that in particular, and then I called it the Twisty Boy because I forgot what it was called. What are those? You know what I'm talking
Oh,
about?
Kabasa.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, I've consistently forgotten
Oh,
Pepper
what that is
shaker.
called
Yeah.
every single
Twisty
time
Boy.
I've used it, and if I can find it, that completes the beat for this.
That it's such a great sound. Like it can be a hi-hat, it can be a snare, it can be
Yes.
like a sample on top of both those.
Yes,
It could also be the sound of a kabasa alone.
it could if you wanted it to be. Let me find the. I think I literally called it Twisty Boy. Shaker.
Yeah, it's a very hip hoppy sound too.
Yes. Let me also
in a lot of
just
ways.
kind of like do this so I can actually see what I'm talking about. Okay, I can't find it, but that's fine. You can just cut this entire part out.
We'll see.
Yeah. Maybe I did, because what is this? No, that's just the perk. Okay, so this is all the percussion, so I'll just. Oh, I
yeah.
also have a. So there's 3 things going on there. So there's that jar lid. There's
Yeah.
the kabasa. I keep wanting to say kielbasa, like the steak.
Yeah.
And then I have a can full of bottle caps.
Oh.
That is the sentence. I have a
It's a
can
full of bottle caps.
I filled it with bottle caps, and I put masking tape over one side, so one's really dead and one's really ringy.
Nice.
So that's right here. If we zoom in, so we got jar cap. That right there is me just literally turning over the jar. I don't remember which side because I've distorted the heck
It
out
almost
of
sounds like a scrape of something.
It does, and it's really cool because I
really
think
cool.
I put decap through it and just turned it up.
Totally.
You know, so it
Yeah.
just sounds like, and so
Angry.
that's like that little beat, and it keeps going. I've turned that's the full loop. Come on,
Nice.
yeah.
That's
And
so
so that
cool.
becomes the percussion loop that kind of centers most of it. Like there's
I can be the villain if it gets you through the day.
yeah, it's still
But we're
sneaking in
not
there.
that
It's more
different.
prevalent
You're
in
just
the chorus. I'll run it back.
I'm over it. Got nothing to show. Mad can't handle that you played your hand and played me
Flipping
back.
as hell. I'm sorry.
I can be the villain if it gets you.
The master bus is overloaded.
Oh.
But it'll live. So yeah,
That's so cool.
a lot of that stuff is really just ear candy at a certain point, and like realizing what it is you're hearing in your head is a jar lid
Yeah.
Yeah.
and a can full of bottle caps.
Yeah,
I've always
there's
had
only
them.
one actual percussion, like
Yes.
traditional percussion thing
Correct.
used.
Yeah, and that's funnily enough.
Everything
that's,
else is household items.
yeah, honestly, like percussion
awesome.
can be anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like percussion is the thing I have the most of, other than like guitar stuff, instrument wise.
Yeah.
Like I have a piano, I have my guitar collection and pedals. Oh boy, do I have pedals.
Yeah.
But like above the pedal shelf at my studio is my percussion shelf. That is literally the can, 8 different kinds of shakers,
Yeah.
the tambourine, the kabasa, which is a small one. It's not the full guy. It's a tiny one. I don't know why I have a tiny
Oh,
one.
you got a baby one.
Yeah, I have a baby one. I don't really
Sounds
know
good.
why. I think it was given
Same.
to me. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like the amount of times I've had somebody like, "Do you have like a cowbell sample?" I'm like, "That's the stupidest thing you've ever said to me. I will go buy a cowbell right now, and it'll be better and easier to
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
Like I
Yeah.
don't want all the options. I want the options that I have for percussion.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes that's not true, but I don't want to. You know, I want if I have a sound, I'll figure out how to make it rather than like. I'm gonna see every different version on every different key of this cowbell sample.
Monotonous.
I will go insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
you lose what like you were originally looking for, like the
Yeah.
original sound that you
Just
were
get
hearing
lost
in
in
your
the
head.
sauce.
Yeah.
Right. There's a. I have it because it was part of a contact bundle. There is a tambourine sample that each key is a separate jingle. I don't need that.
Madness.
Yeah, that's-
I'm glad it
nobody needs
exists.
that.
I'm glad it exists.
Save-
I hope somebody needs it. I will buy a tambourine.
Save it for
Yeah.
Jacob Collier.
Save it
he'll
for
figure
Jacob.
something
He needs
out.
only 5 jingles. He needs only 5, and honestly, I believe him.
Yeah.
But so there's a lot of little candy like that. There was
Yeah.
one thing on here where I like took her vocals. I hate sitting down and making vocal chops, so I have a couple different plugins that do that.
Do vocal chops?
Yeah, like hang on, the like villain. Let me find which one that is.
Yeah, it gets very tedious
Yes.
making them yourself.
Yeah.
It's the post-chorus thing, so it's gonna be right here. That.
So is that
That's Claire. That's Claire's voice.
okay? So it chops up her voice.
Yes.
Because I showed you. I just found the coolest plugin of all time. It's Exhale. It's a contact
that.
instrument.
Yeah.
I never heard of that before.
Fun. Yeah.
But like you hear all the things and they're like, oh, like that's from this song and that's
Yes.
from this song, and like there's just easily chopped up, pre-chopped up
Yes.
samples.
Yeah.
That's what I
And
thought you were talking about.
So yeah, it's that. I mean, that's what they are doing is what I'm talking about.
Okay.
One of my first like big hurdles as a producer was not making things that were in the box sound like presets. You guys know the Fruity Loop speed run? Very important that you know this.
I think I know what you're talking about.
It's recreating the beat to Soulja Boy as quickly as possible.
yeah,
because
yeah.
it's all stock Fruity Loops presets.
Yeah.
And it's so funny, and the community is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it's like, but that's funny, right? Like a hit
Yeah.
was made off
Right.
of, and like one of the Gorillaz songs, I forget which one, is like the whole beat is just the Rock 1 preset on an omnichord.
Feel good.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't Feel Good.
Oh,
It's one
no?
of the other ones.
Clint Eastwood?
Yeah, it's Clint Eastwood.
It's Clint
Wait,
Eastwood. Yeah.
yeah.
It's Clint Eastwood. Yeah.
That's so funny.
I don't remember the names of songs in case that wasn't clear. There are people who methodically go in and chop up a vocal note for note and kind of figure that out. I have a plugin called Shaperbox and a new one called Life, but I haven't used it on a track yet. But this was
Everybody
Shaperbox.
blew up over Life.
Life's pretty fun.
It looks cool.
I think it will be more useful for stuff like this than what everybody was blowing up over it for. I have not used it as such yet. It was just an excellent Black Friday purchase.
Yeah.
But so this was Shaperbox messing with the time tool specifically, where it just kind of like warps her over time. And I found my favorite section of that, cut it, auto-tuned it, the hell out of it, to make sure it sounded like sounded like a synthesizer, and 2, was in the right key.
Yeah.
What a cool idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, I really love new ideas and random generators because they'll do things I haven't thought of. Like I said
Right.
earlier, I am bored of my own ideas.
Yeah.
So this specifically is Claire singing who knows what. I don't remember what syllable I put in there. And then it looks like I put a tremolo, like a really slow trem on it as well.
Right. Great
It's
idea.
going left to right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I don't have my other ear on. That's why. I panned it back and forth apparently. And then Anna, she's Anna, but she gave me all this, and I cut her up too, but actually cut her up because I wanted it to be more dramatic. So while that's happening, at the end of the pre-chorus, we've got, and here we go.
I can be the
One, two.
I can be the villain.
And so she'd originally just sung "I Can Be the Villain" on that last right here, literally just this part. That's all.
I can be the villain.
She gave me that, and then I was like, let's drag that back 2 bars and cut it so it sounds progressively
I can be
like
the
she's thinking about becoming the villain.
I can be the
Yeah,
villain.
Nice.
I can be the villain.
yeah,
Yeah, that sounds
Good.
cool.
It sounds so clean.
yeah. She's very good at singing,
Yeah.
and we had a lot of fun. Yeah, I'm trying to think of any other cool stuff that like stands out. I really was obsessed with that pre-chorus bass riff that I did.
Sure.
Let me find it. It's right here. I know this is.
I can be the villain.
No, I'm trying to look for the. It's like back here. Almost.
Left the key on. I'm over. Got nothing to show for. But if you're
I was so obsessed with it
you played your
that they took because she wrote it with Anna. There was formerly another pre-chorus to this song.
Oh.
So I had it again, and they wanted to take that pre-chorus away, and I had to just keep myself together from being like, please don't. I came up with my favorite part in the pre-chorus.
Yeah.
So when that happens, the other thing I try to hammer home about production is no is never the answer. You can fight for something that you really want in there, and I think I fought a little bit on this.
Yeah.
But like, you are not the boss. You are this is your client. She is your boss.
Yeah.
In my case, I work with a lot of women, which is way easier. Men are horrible. I'm kidding.
We all
suck. I've primarily worked with women, so that's in my head. Like, she's the boss.
Yeah.
But no is never your answer. That's not productive. You can talk about it. You can ask why. You can ask questions. But if she needs it to sound more blue, which is not, I'm not talking about these people, but I have received that in my life.
Mm-hmm.
You figure out what the heck blue
Yeah,
means.
yeah.
And you do it. No is never the answer. So that pre-chorus came out.
Yeah.
I did, however, put that riff back into the bridge.
Found a way to keep it in.
That was going to happen again, so help me God.
What kind of what sound was that for
What
that?
sound was
for that bass line?
Thank you.
Yeah.
I believe it was just my Fender jazz bass.
No.
Really?
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, with rounds on it. I can find it. It might not have been. I might have doubled it with. And I have since upgraded, but Massive had a Moog sound. I think it was called Mooger Fooger,
Yeah.
which is hilarious, that I have heavily edited. Like, again, not trying to sound like presets. I think what I did is it's a jazz bass and the Mooger Fooger and a guitar.
Okay.
All at the same time.
Okay.
Yeah, I was hearing a synth in there.
Yeah.
And it was very like 80s. I like
Yes.
it.
Yeah, totally.
The 80s,
Yeah.
when it comes to synths, golden era, it's still relevant
sure.
today.
Yeah.
But so the Mooger Fooger preset, and I've heavily edited it.
Okay.
Like, the sound is there, but like I've taken I've warmed it up and I've done some other stuff, and I just saved it as a separate preset.
Yeah.
Also, just now, after saying that preset out loud, they were trying to do a cuss, and that's hilarious. Never realized that. Mooger Fooger? George Carlin would be so upset with me right now. Anyway. I'll say it off mic. Let me find it. Okay, so halfway through this bridge.
It's a two-way street,
this-
and you see
gonna
what
be
you wanna see. Running from reality. The more you criticize me, the less guilty you'll be. If this is what you
Oh, that's
need
definitely
me
that Moog.
to be. I can be the villain if it gets you through the day. But we're not
Yeah, so that's what that sounds.
Is it cutting through in a good way? In there? Is that the bass cutting through in the chorus?
I don't know, man.
Like
There's
dun,
the sub
dun.
bass. Oh yeah, this must be it. Here it is.
That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, and there's a guitar doubling it as well.
Oh,
Who knows
it's
where that is?
so cool.
Okay, so yeah, there's a jazz bass in there, but it's not by the synths, so who knows where that is?
Yeah.
But yeah, so the little tape drop at the end was
Yeah.
because of what happens in a second.
From reality, the more you criticize
So that's
me,
all
the
three
less
basses and the
Yeah.
guitar happening.
Oh,
And then
what you need me to be. I can be the villain.
at some point in here, I raked the back of my guitar strings and reversed it to use it as a riser
Oh.
to make
I
it
heard
sound
a riser in there.
spooky. There's a couple different risers. There's like a backwards piano and a backwards cymbal, but specifically there was. I'm trying to find it.
what do you mean raked?
So
Is that
when I literally
in
took a
guitar
pick,
terms?
and I can show you in a minute.
Crazy
Um,
train?
No, that's a pick slide.
Okay.
This was where the nut is on the headstock.
Yeah.
How there's strings
okay.
back there. I went
Yeah.
like that.
Okay.
And reversed it and made it use it as a riser. And now that I've told you this, I'm definitely not going to be able to find it.
That's how it works.
There's the piano. Let me just see what other risers are going on here. Slower Twisty Boy. There's Twisty Boy. 1 second. That's probably. And then sometimes some of these risers I find in Splice. Splice is a great tool.
Yeah. I don't use that enough.
It's helpful. Wait for it. I use it. There it is. So hang on, we'll just solo this. This one was fun. Yep.
Wow.
It's like 8 distortion pedals or something on there.
Wow.
Probably just a tube
That's a
screamer.
really cool sound.
Yeah, it's so spooky that it had to be used for something called
Yeah.
Villain. Oh, I forgot I did that. That is a pick slide. And I wanted
Is
it
it?
to sound like a
I
villain
thought-
laughing.
Yeah.
Good. I did it. I did
Nice.
it.
You totally did it.
Awesome. Yeah, I totally thought that was like a little vocal sample or
That's-
something.
Yeah.
That's
From an
me.
old cartoon.
That's me literally going rip with a pick on a guitar.
That's so
Totally
cool.
like a Super Mario villain.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yes, there's so many like bit crushers on there.
Yeah,
I think it's
totally.
just RC20,
Yeah.
but bit crushing there. Yeah, a lot of the times with this stuff, like the ear candy, the special effects is really to enhance like the vibe.
Yeah.
Because again, drums and bass. But like that's what at the end of the bridge as well. I think just to give, or the last chord, almost the chorus. Yeah, you can't even hear it. It's so subtle. You can only hear the end of it. Just the end of it.
It
hangs. Say what?
It hangs.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And it goes from left ear to right, so it sounds like they're running away from you.
Yeah.
Anyway, I feel like this is just a lot of ear candy. The pop thing is so different because this is clearly so many layers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm doing this all myself, so it happens so incrementally.
Yep.
And that we all just kind of decide that, okay, I think this is enough.
Yeah.
Sometimes I have to be held back because of how many layers I add.
Yeah. Chet Faker, he was on Tape Notes.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
So good.
And he does this, like he breaks down his session. And he's like, yeah, I finished a session and then
Yeah.
and then I delete half of it and
Yep.
then I have the song.
Yep. Yep. I don't remember. I don't
Maybe
think
not
we
half,
did-
but-
I don't think I've gotten good, especially with Claire and Anna, to like not go too overboard.
Yeah.
Like it becomes very clear when the end is. And usually what happens, because you'll also see if I kind of zoom out on this whole thing, nothing. I feel like people freak out about. Well, that's not helpful. People freak out about Jacob Collier having
Yeah, sure.
300 tracks. Part of me wonders if he should probably be managing his files a little bit better. And nobody told him. And honestly, let him keep doing it. He's too much of a genius to be constrained in the proper way, whatever that even means. But you can see, like, nothing is ever happening all the time, except maybe the drums and maybe some kind of chords. But even then, like, I feel like pop gets a weird rap because everybody is so worried about authenticity. When like it's authentic to just make something sound cool,
Yeah.
even if it's just the computer really doing something dirty to it.
Sure.
Yeah.
And like I didn't authentically laugh into a microphone and
Yeah.
distort it. That
It
was
would have
guitar.
made for a great clip, but
It would have, but I didn't. I did
the
this.
song comes first.
Yeah.
Exactly. Any other questions, guys, about this, or like about bigger things about pop production? This is also an older song. I've done a couple other more recent pop things, but this was just a fun one to break down. And I saw Claire yesterday, so I asked her.
I love it.
Yeah.
Is there kind of a rhyme or reason that you or a rule of thumb that you follow with how much ear candy or how often the little ear candy things come in? Like, what's an acceptable amount? What is
So the rule that I was told, the rule of thumb for pop, is something needs to change every 4 measures.
I've heard that as well.
Yes. That doesn't
that.
mean add something every 4 measures.
Yeah.
That means something needs to be different
Yeah.
every 4 measures. And usually that's pretty obvious. Like the snare comes in, or the hi-hat comes out, or the hi-hat doubles up, or the vice versa. So it's really about just kind of an ebb and flow of taking things away and putting them in there. And sometimes the only thing that needs to change is a little ear candy.
Yeah.
And just kind of like a twinkly synth up top, up an octave higher. A lot of the other thing is just kind of like making sure your stereo spectrum is taken care of. Not stereo, I'm sorry. Frequency spectrum is taken care of.
Yes.
If there's not enough high-end stuff, the vocals are going to get muddy and lost. And also the vocals are the only important thing. Yeah, I know drums are the most important thing to get right, but like the vocals, when it comes to all production, the vocals are the most important thing that there is. Because one, that's the person who's paying you. But two, like that's like if you should be able to turn your phone all the way down except for level 1
Right.
and hear exactly what they're saying.
Right.
Not just that there is vocals.
That
you
it's
should
there.
be able to understand the words.
Yeah.
And that's the most mixing I ever do. is vocal chain and like just getting that right so that you can the words poke through.
Right.
But with the ear candy specifically, I feel like it comes up in the transitions a lot.
Transitions.
Specifically, that's where like, you know, if it's going from a pre-chorus to a chorus, there's going to be a couple risers in there and then like not a crash cymbal but an explosion.
Yeah.
Or something like that. And that's like that villain laugh happens right coming out of that second chorus into the bridge. And then you also got to keep in mind the overarching dynamic range. Is like how big. One, the first thing I ask everybody is like, what do you want this to sound like? Second thing is, how big do you want it to get?
Yeah.
And sometimes the answer is not at all.
Right.
In this one, it was very large.
Yeah.
And you want to just kind of make sure that like your choruses need to be the biggest section, but your choruses need to get incrementally larger. So the ear candy in each chorus is going to be a little different.
Right.
Second chorus is going to have more than the first. Third chorus is going to have more than everything. Third chorus should have elements of every single other section that you've done if you've done your job right.
Right.
Elements, not literally everything going at the same time.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then how do you carry that thought process into something like the first song we listened to that's a little bit more stripped back?
Right.
You know, I guess we did hear the you had the whole like beginning sequence there and stuff. But
That really helped, and that's why I brought that song. But let's just open it again. It's kind of honestly that if you take that pop mentality into there, you'll notice that I'm changing something every 4 to 8 bars.
yeah.
And it really, like the ear candy in here comes to the vocals. If you want to pop these on again. It's really just because this one, the dynamic range on the previous one I just showed you, Villain, is very blocky. It's just kind of like sudden jumps that all in all kind of prove to be heading in one direction.
Yeah.
But like the verse, pre-chorus, and chorus are all three very suddenly dynamically different. This is a build that it's a rocket ship.
Yeah.
Was literally, she described it as like, I want this to be a rocket ship. And I was like, I can do that. And so the ear candy is just the amount of things, like everything's pretty much happening all at the same time, give or take, until that second chorus. Then I start adding things. The acoustic doesn't come in until the second chorus. The vocals start harmonizing the entire melody as opposed to just some of the melody.
Yeah.
So like in the first chorus,
Does the love go? The love go?
right? Picking and choosing words. Because you don't just have dynamic, like loudness, you have how, like rhythm and how frequently things are
Where
happening.
does the love go? The love go?
And that's Eva Cassell and Ryan Jackson on background vocals.
Don't follow.
Buttery.
Nice.
And then you get to the second chorus, and we just do the whole thing.
You disappear like that. I still think.
This is the second pre-chorus, and then I have to jump in, and that's kind of the biggest dramatic change that we have, because she goes up an octave. And so by the time we get to chorus 2, we're not just doing one word anymore. It's the whole phrase.
Where does the love go? The love go? It don't follow. Somewhere below.
Oh, I also have them doing padding there.
Oh.
Yeah, that helps.
Yeah.
Yeah. Adds bigness.
Yes.
Yeah.
Again, felt but not heard.
You're so good at that.
Thanks, man.
Felt not heard.
Yeah. Some teacher told me that too. That's what it was called. I think I was doing it already, and they were like, "Oh, nice felt but not heard." And I was like, "Great, now I have a word for it."
Yeah.
And then I keep those vocals, specifically the still going until the organ solo happens.
Yeah.
Because the organ solo is, funnily enough, the part where we start tapering out.
Right.
I think we give George Russell III is on the organ here.
Fantastic.
I think we give him a solid 16 bars, and then when she comes back in, I literally start fading out the band. And so, honestly, the band is the ear candy. Just by proxy of, like, in this kind of genre, the band gets to play more.
Right.
More notes get to be played, and more risks get to be taken.
Yeah.
And that turns into ear candy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. I think I've talked your ear off for about an hour.
It's my favorite
really
part
great.
of this
Yeah.
whole thing.
This has been very. I love breaking stuff like this down, and
Yeah.
like, it's always fun to talk to somebody that is a little bit more specialized in one area or the other, and that can kind of fill in gaps, you know. So I feel like I've learned a lot.
Very much a producer. I can engineer. I when it comes to production, I'm also very much a guitar player. You know, all my pop tracks have like 18, 20, maybe 30 guitar layers that are all serving different parts. Like they're all some ear candy or some like girth or or backing up the snare or something. But like I do that because I'm more proficient on that than I am a keyboard.
Right.
So like I'm playing a synth part. It's just on guitar.
Right. That makes sense.
You're uniquely good at that. I was showing you the other day up in the loft some of the layers that you did for
those are fun.
Some of my
Those
silly
songs are
tunes.
so fun to play on.
But like you would do I call them symphonies. But like it's just like you do such a good job of like filling out the frequency spectrum. Whoa,
you got it.
Fill out the frequency spectrum with it, and like you make it obvious. Like this should be panned over here. This should be panned over here.
Yeah,
you have a good focus to it. And like nothing's really stepping on each other's toes. Everything's serving its part.
Yeah, I feel, and actually this is funny. We were talking before we turned the mics on that I'm so comfortable doing that. That I don't always, and this is more of a midlife crisis, quarter life crisis. I'm not that old yet that I'm having, but like because I am a guitar player and there's a certain amount of, despite our best efforts, ego that comes with that.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Despite our best efforts.
Like I do my absolute best to not be that guitar player. But I still want to be good at the guitar specifically.
For sure.
And so I've gotten so comfortable layering because I've been playing it with production for so long that I feel, not that my playing has suffered, but like this record of my own that I just made is instrumental, and I gave myself the challenge of not letting myself do that.
Yeah.
It's literally like a solo record, a duo, or a solo song, a duo song, a trio song. That's all that's going to be there is me and a drummer and an organ, me and a drummer and an organ and a bass, like in that order. And, but that being said, I've spent a lot of money and time trying to get my guitar to sound like a synthesizer. Just because I'm better at playing the guitar than I am a
more
keyboard.
Intuitive for you.
But
yeah.
Anyway, are we going to...
Want to do some jamming?
Want to do some jamming?
Let's do it.
Okay.
Also, if we want to talk about...
Hey, everybody. We're interrupting the podcast because we want to show you kind of what's really going on here at Garden Groove. This is a place where people can come in, record podcasts like we're doing now, but we can also record full bands in here. We've also had some people record just drum content or just drum tracks. So there's all sorts of options here, and that's kind of where Jackson comes in.
How's it going, everybody? I'm Jackson Maddox. I am the head audio engineer here at Garden Groove. So we have a lot of great gear now that we are really, really excited to share. The sound in the room is awesome. We've been recording bands in here. We've had people come in and do drum cover videos. And the way that this studio is laid out is so that you can come in here and feel like you can do whatever you can imagine in here. So we would love for you to bring in your next project, whatever that may be, and we would love to just be a part of that and help you out.
And if you also just want to hang out, we're doing monthly master classes. That's every last Monday of the month. So every month we're going to feature a new artist and entrepreneur in Nashville, diving into different Ableton things, diving into different photography and all sorts of different stuff. So you can check that out on all of our socials, and it'd be good to meet you all. And have a good day. And
Signing off. That was good.
All right, we're back in a new configuration. I have a bass. Connor is set up with his rig, and we're gonna get a little rig rundown, and then maybe jam a little bit. So, what are we rocking guitar-wise?
I've got a 335. It is left-handed. That's why it looks weird. Everybody
Something
knows.
seemed off about
Yeah. I come from a mirror dimension. I forgot the tuner when we talked about this earlier.
Oh, yeah.
So we got the Sonic Research Turbo Tuner.
Okay.
It's the only tuner of affordable price that I can see when there's a glare
Wow.
in the outdoors. I'm sure there are others, but this was cheaper than those.
So that's a selling point for
and
you.
extremely accurate. Like that's as good as every other tuner at its price point. It's just like I was the first one I tried that was like not $200 for a tuner.
Yeah.
That I was like, yeah, I can see this.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Now that I think about it, it might have been $200. But
really?
no, I don't think so. I think it was like 125 or around
Okay.
there, like 150. And they have a mini version too, and I might be confusing that with this. Like this one. Like shading my tuner. It was really funny. And then we got the King Tone Duelist, one of the dual overdrives. I think it's a blues breaker into a tube screamer, and you can flip the thing. There's dip switches. You can flip the order. Yeah, they've got
flip the order of them.
Yeah.
What do you like to run them in?
I typically like the tube screamer. I'm a tube screamer guy.
Okay.
So I typically like use that as my main distortion, and then treat the other one as like a little bit like the more button.
Yeah.
So I've got tube screamer into blues breaker right now, and I've messed with that. And sometimes if you need like just a little less, you just use the blues breaker.
Yeah.
So it's great.
Gotcha.
And I find it's kind of smooths out like compression wise in this order a little bit better. Like my notes are more sustainy in this order than the other order.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Then I got a Vertex Boost. It's just a very clean boost, cleanest one I've found, and it has one knob, very simple. You move it up for more and down for less. And yes, exactly. And then you can run. The neat thing about this is you can run your volume pedal through it, so that you don't get something that I did not believe in for a long time, which is tone suck.
I've heard of this.
Yes.
I've heard of this
Apparently,
phenomenon.
volume pedals suck your tone.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that my tone was suck.
You don't want to have
Until-
suck tone.
You don't want to have suck tone.
Not in this
dude.
town.
No. Until I ran it through. I don't think it was this, but like I took the volume pedal out of my chain because if I could only have one pedal, it would be a volume pedal, other than a tuner. Obviously, I'm not a monster. But if I could have one pedal, it'd be a volume pedal. And so I was using a GFI. No, not GFI is the pedal steel company. Goodrich volume pedal, which is a pedal steel volume pedal on my normal pedal board.
I know it's the one you're talking about.
And it was the only one that had no tone suck. Like it was very smooth. I still use them all the time, just not on mini board. But so running this through any volume pedal just kind of removes it as an issue.
Yeah.
And I went through so many volume pedals to get to this configuration.
And so are you doing a lot of using the volume pedal with your playing, or so you're doing some like kind of fade in stuff?
Yeah,
or
I rarely
steel?
ride it. Like I'm not
Right.
up there. It's a lot of you know. Am I live? You know. Like some ethereal crap. Ooh, not that one. Not that ethereal crap. Some ethereal crap. That kind of thing in conjunction with a delay and a reverb so I can have a long tail. I think I mentioned it earlier. I want my guitar to sound like a synthesizer.
Yeah.
As much as physically possible.
That's super cool. And then
Walrus
running-
Audio Julia, best chorus on the market. Yeah, it's a chorus. It's a chorus.
Yeah.
Every once in a while I move it over to make it a Schofield button. Get this going a little bit more, a little faster. Or you can just kind of.
Yeah.
Wiggly.
Yeah, wiggly.
Very wiggly.
Exactly.
I like that.
That's that era of Schofield, the wiggly era.
Yeah, the wiggly era.
So when a client asks, like, can it be a little more like wiggly?
I got that.
totally.
Put
I
on
have the wiggle
button.
button. Don't
I
worry.
got the wiggle right here. This is
Awesome.
this is an old version. I've had this for years. Like they have like released a stereo version and an
Yeah.
updated version, and I could get them. I don't need to because this one's already perfect.
It's still great. Yeah.
And then a classic, the carbon copy. Yeah.
One of the best sounding delay pedals.
Yep.
Like it truly, I will stand by the tone
Yeah.
of the carbon copy.
What keeps it
Like,
around? Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds good.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't just do the job, but it's like in that range where a lot of pedals would just do the job, but it really just it's such a good pedal. I
Yeah.
love my carbon copy.
And I've had other versions of the carbon copy, like the deluxe with the tap tempo, which is very useful. For whatever reason, this is better. Like just the
I almost bought one
original.
of those.
Yeah, I mean it's great. Those are
Yeah.
great, but like whatever the vibe factor is for this particular pedal, was not as present. I think because there were too many options
Yeah.
in the deluxe. Oh, and also the mod button needs to be on.
Yep.
Very important.
The mod button.
Otherwise, what's the point?
Yeah. That's what makes it.
And I really couldn't find. I think on the deluxe, I just couldn't find the sweet spot with the mod. With it was whenever you had too many range of modulation on there, so
Yeah.
it was really just kind of like
What
too
is
much.
that? What is the mod?
modulation is when something wiggles.
Okay.
It's wiggles,
Move
but
away.
on the delays.
Yeah.
Okay, I
yeah.
gotcha.
So it's like in these particular, usually with a delay pedal, it's some kind
Okay, I
of a
get it.
tape modulation. So it's like if
Yeah.
somebody pressed on the tape
Right.
a little bit.
It's like the thing in RC20. It's like
Yes.
they call it warp. I think in that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. It's usually not that drastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just like color and a little
Okay.
bit of like here. I can show you the difference. We got. You can hear a little movement.
Yep.
Turn the button off, which never usually happens. No movement.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's just kind of like having a little extra subtle chorus.
Yeah. Exactly.
But yeah, that's the vibe. And then we're going into a Princeton reissue with a warehouse speaker replaced into it, which is like
Oh, cool.
the standard Nashville mod, apparently.
Yeah, I've heard the name warehouse speaker
Yeah.
thrown around so many times. What's the thing you get out of that?
You get the more, because vintage Princetons have a tone, and whatever that tone is, I don't know anything about amps, really. Like,
not-
I know what I like, and I can talk about it enough to like know what I like. I can't handle Vox. Like, I don't know what to do with that.
Yeah.
Even though like that's a great tone. There's nothing wrong with Vox. I just don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And so with particular Fender amps, I love a deluxe. I don't love a super reverb, but that's mostly because they're too heavy.
Yeah. What we were just talking about.
Yes.
Yeah.
But like, and super reverbs are too much. And then there's another reverb. I think just like, what's the other one? There's
Deluxe
one more.
reverb?
Deluxe reverb. I do like. There's one
Yeah.
more kind of reverb, and it's a Fender reverb amp that I'm completely blanking
It's a
on.
twin reverb.
Twin. I don't like a twin.
Really?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
too top endy for me. Too twang. It's the perfect country amp. I don't really do that.
Yeah.
So I like it warmer. The warehouse speaker, apparently, according to the guys at Heim, shout out to Heim. Have you been there? Mm-mm. Great spot in Berry Hill.
Oh,
It's just
cool.
two dudes that work on amps, and they're hilarious.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Cannot recommend enough. I was like, I wanted them to do what is like the typical vintage mod for the Princeton reissues, and they were like, listen, we could do that, or swap out the speaker and you'll get like 90% of the way there, which is all you really need.
Yeah.
Until you get into the nitty gritty of it, and I don't think I will. I'll have other
Right.
options for amps.
Yeah.
Because I don't need to recreate anything. I'm just trying to get new sounds.
Right.
I don't tend to be the guy that's like, I own exactly what Hendrix owned.
Yeah. I
for
can
the
get that
Foxy
exact.
Lady. I can get exact, because then what do? You play it, and then you're like, neat.
Yeah.
No,
And
I
where to
like
go
I
from
don't
there.
cover band enough to like have that be
Yeah.
useful to me.
Yeah.
Somebody who does, that's so useful to them.
Right.
But so this gets close enough to the vintage thing without having to like mess with the circuit board.
Right.
Or the electronics or anything. That's at least what it was explained to me. Yeah,
That's
'cause
how it
he
was
said a lot of
explained to you.
words. I understood some of them.
That makes sense to me. I mean,
Yeah.
it's the speaker is what is creating the sound.
Yeah.
So you got to think,
And
it's
I-
gonna have a lot to do with the tone.
Yeah, makes sense.
You know?
And I had a buddy when we first got it, when I had it done, that also had the same reissue amp. This is the 65, I think, or the 68. Those are the two options.
Yeah.
This is the silver one.
Yeah.
The silver one, reissue wise, is better than the black one,
Oh, really?
and the opposite is true of the actual vintage.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
the
Everybody wants the
65s are
blackface.
better. Yeah, exactly. But these are better as far as reissues go, apparently, but based on my firsthand account and research.
Gotcha. A little bit of both.
Yeah, but so that's what I'm rocking through. Everything else is just
Do you have like a at home board that kind of stays at home. It's like massive.
It's got the Strymon trifecta on it.
Oh yeah.
And just a line of drives for everything I could possibly need.
Yeah.
It does not leave the house.
Right. Yeah. It just stays.
It goes to sessions, if anything, and sometimes not even that far. It's
Yeah.
just really when I need like,
Every option.
yeah,
Right.
and
there.
like, what's the tempo? Is like
Yeah.
the line that I keep saying in sessions when I'm like, hey, I'm gonna do an edge thing. What's the tempo for this one?
Yeah.
And then like, I'm gonna do a crazy tremolo. What's the tempo for this one? That's when
Yeah.
I have to ask that question. That's when that
so you can
board
set all the
arrives.
things.
Yeah, which is funny because you really don't ever use them for more than what you would use a normal pedal, like the carbon copy for. Like I just have
Sure.
it set to a tempo,
Yeah.
and then I have it on tape delay.
Yeah. Yeah. Like let's make this a little more vintage.
Yeah, exactly. Even though you can do crazy stuff.
Yeah, the timeline is nuts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
what
no,
you can
all
do
three
with
of them
it.
are, and the
yeah,
timeline
and the
especially.
Mobius, I assume that's what you're doing modulation stuff with.
And then Big Sky at
the
the
Big
end.
Sky is a really awesome reverb too.
Yeah, I mean it's just all of the reverbs.
Yeah,
all
it's
of them.
every
It's every single
reverb.
one, and
Yeah.
same for all of them. So I keep that at home. This is small board. I have medium board. That's for like I
Okay.
need a little more going on. It's empty right now.
Okay,
because
it's
I
in a
needed
state of flux.
It's a state of flux. That one's constantly in a state of flux. The
Mm-hmm.
big board is occasionally in a state of flux,
Mm-hmm.
but it has like a buffer in the front, and like it's really just for the studio.
yeah, it's just to have
Yeah,
all the colors in the palette.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I have 3 shelves of pedals.
Very
It's the
nice.
thing that like I'm not a big gear guy until it comes to guitar pedals.
Yeah.
and
That was my intro into gear. Like I just
Oh, yeah.
started going further and further with
Oh,
it
yeah.
and became obsessed with like recording stuff and whatnot.
Yeah.
But like all of my extra dollars as a 14-year-old on were spent on guitar pedals.
correct.
Just buying guitar pedals.
Yeah.
And like it's funny, like when you build
Mm-hmm.
up a collection, and you like bring your pedal board out for the first time and people go, "Oh my god, what is that?" You're like,
like,
it's just like
This whole thing, I just gotta throw it together.
You're just, whatever. It's
You
just-
were so excited when you threw your most current pedal board together.
Oh yeah,
I came
was
over and we were
hyped.
gonna go somewhere. Like, I have to show you my pedal board. And so
It was a
I didn't know
undertaking.
I didn't know what anything was. So I asked a question for each pedal,
Good.
and each
Good.
one was just like this long spiel.
Yeah.
It was like, you're so
Yeah.
excited about it. Like, it's great.
It's what's
it
that,
looks really cool.
What's that
Like,
mean?
a lot
It's
of
been
time into it.
Circulating like this one gives me more scronkle.
Yeah.
and then this one's got a bonkle switch.
Yeah,
and then yeah.
This is my grungus.
Yes.
Yeah. Just in one ear and out the other. For
Yeah,
Taylor.
totally, absolutely. There's
Okay.
I got it, and this is a real
a
thing,
drummer.
but it sounds like it's a fake thing. I got the King Tone Fuzz recently. Favorite fuzz. It was easy. I've been battling fuzz pedals for a long time. I just
Yeah.
could never find one that I liked.
It's a lifelong
Really?
battle.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I've been battling fuzz my
Yeah,
whole
dude.
life. Other than like I have like the mini fuzz face, but that's like Hendrix and almost nothing else.
Yeah.
But so this one's very versatile, and I really like it. There is a zonk switch.
A zonk
ZONK zonk.
Sometimes
Which
you need
Straight
the
out of
fuzz
Rick and
to.
Morty.
Yes,
Yeah.
literally. And like sometimes, apparently, that is just a colloquialism for a type of fuzz. And it's real, and it's not just, I don't remember what kind of fuzz, but I had to look it up. In their manual, it's like, oh, the classic zonk of fuzz pedals such as. I'm like, oh, great.
That's so interesting.
Yep.
That's was that a marketing term?
Yeah,
I have
probably.
no idea.
Get some zonk. On
Yeah,
your
yeah.
own, dude.
No one else is using this term.
Yeah.
You really have to capitalize.
That
on
sounds like something they made up in the 60s.
It does. Well,
Yeah,
fuzz
totally.
pedals go so deep too. Like,
Yeah.
Taylor, you probably don't know about this. If the battery is drained a certain amount, the fuzz pedals sound different.
really
They start
Yes.
sputtering
Isn't that just like
and
a
like
horrible. Yeah.
Yeah, but some people like it. Like the Eric Johnson, the Cliffs of Dover guy,
Yeah.
keeps he drains his pedals before or his battery like 9 volts before every show.
Life on the edge.
His tech like has to supply him with a bunch, and it's not like they're almost dead. It's like 60% or something.
Yeah.
yeah.
Because one show won't really knock you below that.
Right.
But like he has to have exactly 60% on his 9
Hilarious.
volts.
Yeah.
And apparently
Hilarious.
it sounds different. I believe him. I have no reason not to believe Eric Johnson.
If you really want your mind to be blown, there is an hour-long documentary on YouTube about fuzz.
I have watched it.
Touche, my friend. I too have watched the fuzz documentary.
I will watch any of your video essays. You don't have to try me. Have you been? What's new in Pedalland with you?
I just got the Belle Epoque Deluxe, which is the
there's the Belly Pop, which is like the Echoplex thing, and then the Belly Pop Deluxe has a button for self oscillation.
Oh.
So it'll just go.
You can say that in public radio.
It's it's an X-rated pedal. It's very you have to show ID to get the pedal.
Yeah, it tracks. Yeah, that makes sense.
But I've been playing around with that, and it's really, really fun. It's very crazy and out of control at times, and then it can also be very subtle and kind of just like atmospheric and stuff. The way that the repeats blend together, and then I also got this pedal called the Donut by a company called Gut Tech.
The
Gut
donut
Tech.
is
It's
great.
The donut,
It's like
dude.
it's based on the Crowther hot cake.
I don't know if I knew that. I know. I just know about the donut. I have not.
Yeah,
played with it
it's
yet.
great. It's great. I needed something that was because I'm a big fuzz guy, but
Okay.
I finally came to the realization that I need something that is not all the way there, but also not like a light overdrive. Like I have a light
Yeah.
overdrive that I use, and it's almost like it's like a channel switch for me. I'm either playing clean or with that on
Gotcha.
as like a bass tone, and so I needed somewhere to go in between that and then just because like you can't stop playing when the fuzz is on.
Correct.
You know,
Correct.
it's you got to go. Like you got to hit the gas.
Have you
and
dug into
play.
Beatronics stuff at all?
Not a whole lot, but they are
need
making
to-
some really cool stuff.
You need to come over. I have
I might need to
4
come
of their fuzzes. I have, and one of them, the one I like, because they all do cool stuff, but it's too much.
Yeah.
Except for their Octafuzz. Their Octafuzz is exactly right.
Yeah.
I just like it as an Octafuzz specifically.
Right.
So and then there's the Vespa, which is just a smaller Octafuzz, and then I have it's called the Hochtahel, which is an octave down.
Oh.
And then you can go 2 octaves down. So that's
That's
really like
nuts.
very particular things.
Yeah. That
But
stays in the studio.
Yeah, that stays in the studio. I don't take that. That's not a real pedal for
Yeah.
life, for daily life. But it is so. I put it on Elisa's record on the like Black Keys-esque one, and I just doubled the bass line with it instead of the smart thing, which would have been
cool.
to put a saturation plug-in on the bass. No, me.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
That's right.
But
so cool.
but the one that I think would interest you the most is called the Royal Jelly. Have you seen these? It's a dual one, but
yeah.
you can blend between overdrive and fuzz.
Oh, that's cool.
On one or either of the channels, so you can have like one. It's not all the way anything.
Yeah.
If you don't want it to be.
That's so cool.
And it's really nice, and they both have 2 like bright channels for each. It's like
Yeah.
very flexible. That one has come. That one's been coming out more and more as I've
Really?
gotten to know it.
yeah.
And
Finding its
shout
way
out-
onto more things.
Exactly. Yeah. And shout out to Beatronics. I should have brought one of theirs now, given how much
Yeah.
I'm talking to them. Maybe I'll do it. Maybe I'll
Have
maybe
you
I'll do
done
the
them?
fuzz things.
Have you done them before on our clips?
I think so. I think I've
Because it rings a bell.
I think I might have had one on one of our breakdowns, but I
Yeah.
guess next time I'll just go through the different fuzz pedals because it is an hour-long documentary's worth of material.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that's it.
In 1962, the first fuzz circuit was
Yeah.
created. Christ.
Put a black and white filter over it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Give me a mustache.
Yeah.
In 1952.
It can
My
be done.
transatlantic accent back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything we should talk about in particular about? How do you guys normally do this with hired guns?
We
Just like that, actually.
Sweet.
yeah,
okay,
pretty
sick.
much that. And then if you want to jam a little bit, maybe
it.
let me know what kind of key you're feeling.
I don't care, man. You know, you're digging. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll do whatever.